Welcome to RefusedFlank, a wargaming podcast exploring the intersection of competitive excellence and narrative storytelling potential.
Hey, this is Grant.
And Cam.
And this is RefusedFlank. This week we're going to go back to the popular Battletech, I guess, topic.
That's what everybody raves about. It's
Indeed.
Our most viewed video, if you aren't aware. So you can go back and check that out. It's just our overview of Battletech, kind of a review.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure I got certain things wrong in that, but I think what it hit people with was just the vibe and the excitement. So
Definitely.
Again, I'm going to try to ride that here, but we're going to be a little bit more specific.
I do also just want to say I noticed that that's our only video that has dislikes.
Yes, we had like one.
Every other video is like just
two.
all likes. It's only like
It
7
hit enough
likes, but it's
views
100%.
to where somebody hit it and was like, this is just garbage, and hit thumbs down. But you know what? There was like 90 likes or something, so
I'll take it.
not too bad. So this week we're going to talk about kind of circling back. We had a previous episode maybe 15 or so weeks ago now. Wow. About edition changes. And right now, Battletech has a big playtest packet out of currently 4 PDFs, but there will be 5, I believe. And they're getting feedback on that, although some of that's changed and stuff. This is as of November 9th, the recording date. So if
fresh.
you listen to this, I don't know, in 3 months and everything we say is completely undone, that's what we're raving about now. But essentially, Battletech hasn't gotten a new core rulebook in like almost 20 years. So right now that is called Total Warfare. I think I cited it. That's the big one with all the different, got it in front of me, core rules.
Yeah, full color.
Yeah, but they've decided, you know what, it's been long enough, we're going to repackage it and not just, reformat things. We want to make some changes too. So a lot of people
But it's not an edition change.
But it's not an edition change. They very specifically say that in every single PDF.
Because like we talked about in that episode, what's kind of the difference? If you're changing rules, isn't it an edition change?
Sure. What I will give them credit for is there are some big changes here, but they're not like they would only affect the core rules. All supplements are not really affected by pretty much any of these. They even specifically called out of all the record sheets, which are the pieces of paper with the mech stats. I think only they said out of probably, I'm going to guess, thousands of record sheets, 30 are going to have to change.
Wow, that's huge.
So you can still, they say, you can still use your record sheets from 1985. That's like important to them. They want that continuity. They don't want to have to. I think that's what some people fear. They're like, oh no. But as I guess what we'll get into is I feel like they are going about this the right way.
Yeah, definitely seems that way.
They're getting feedback. They're putting this out there. The new rule book is not, I believe it's slated for next year. Okay. Like fall 2026. So 8 or 9, 10 months away from where we are now. So plenty of time for them to kind of reevaluate.
And it seems like they're doing sort of like a rolling process here. So they've got the first package about survivability rules. They said it started September 9th till October 13th. So like that's the period in which you can be playtesting these, sending feedback. And then the next one started September 29th to November 10th. And so doing it on that rolling basis maybe just helps make it more likely that people will dive in on each one because there's kind of a focus one at a time sort of an idea.
It's certainly an interesting way to roll this out. It's not just one packet with here's everything. Now that might have been really long, I guess, especially once you get to some of the later ones. But like the core ones, the first 3, which are the ones we're going to focus on today, which are survivability rules, mobility, and then the gear, which is like the actual tech.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be one for missions, and then there's one for aerospace. I'm not touching aerospace this time with you. I've read the rules in Total Warfare for aerospace, and it's a lot. Frankly, you have to control like thrust and like you track altitude.
That's fun.
It's really cool, but I've just never. Usually, when I do get around to playing Battletech, we're playing ground units, so we play.
Right, that's all like add-on stuff that just never.
So does it sound awesome to have like a bomber do like altitude strafe bombing? Yes, that sounds awesome. But at the same time, I just don't have any experience, so I don't really want to comment on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, it's kind of changing their quote-unquote battlefield support rules, which are, to my knowledge, kind of new. They're like almost a halfway point for the vehicles for like between Alpha Strike and classic Battletech, where they're more simplified. Like their sheet is just like a little card.
Oh, I see. So it's easier to manage those extra units.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're trying to simplify that, but you keep the crunch, I guess, on the main mechs. So
that makes sense. Keep
like
the focus on what the game's really about, but then you still have that combined arms feel overall.
For sure, because right now you can definitely be like, I'm going to bring all tanks, and they definitely have some strengths and weaknesses to them, but they also are, have a lot of unique aspects to them with motive system hits, and planes are cool too, because you can... Oh, I don't want to get into it, but they'll do like piloting skills where if they get hit, they have to try to maintain altitude. So if they're flying low, they might like lose altitude and then crash into the ground or whatever, and that's how they die.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, but a lot involved. But,
yeah. Okay. Well, before we dive into the specific PDFs, I do just want to dwell on the way that they're doing this and rolling this out. Again, we've said that they're soliciting people's feedback. They're doing this as like a playtest period. And they have this whole webpage dedicated to this process. So it's battletech.com/playtestbattletech with a hyphen in there.
Yeah, playtest-battletech. Yep.
Yeah, and then they've got just multiple times they're saying, to be clear, no change proposed in the playtest package is set in stone. Like, we're just wanting to see how people feel about these. These are things that each PDF has like a whole page or two introduction explaining the process, why they've come to these decisions about these specific things, and why they think it will help without fundamentally altering the game. And yeah, all of that, as we explained in that other episode, being connected to your community during changes like this to help them understand why the change is happening can make all the difference. Because something that you might have initially, you just see the rule change and you're like, oh, this is dumb, but then somebody explains why, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I see, that makes sense in some ways I didn't really think about initially. But also in the feedback that they're asking people to send, they actually have specific questions that they're asking, which shows, I think, really good intention on their part about they're not just saying, here's a big blank text box, send us all your rambling thoughts, but they actually have specific questions. They say, read these questions carefully, make sure that you're basing your feedback off of actually playing these things on the table. Don't just read the PDFs and then send your first hot off the press thoughts on it, but actually try these out on the tabletop, see what it feels like, then carefully read the questions in the feedback form, and then send what you're thinking of. And then at the end, they just say, to recap, playtest Battletech, be professional, be polite, be specific, be involved, and have fun. Right. And I just think that's a great approach. I think it's very cordial, but also it's like a tight process that I think is going to actually get them good information. So I think this is like gold standard for how to approach this as a gaming company.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
I don't know, but again, I love Battletech. I haven't played it as much in recent years, but from what I can see as kind of an outsider coming back, I guess, is I give them 5 stars. Like, this is what I wish other companies would do.
Right. And obviously they're in the middle of this process. I guess we'll see how it ends up, how it goes, whether people feel like they were listened to or not. You don't want to necessarily put everything in the hands of the internet, because then you get Bodie McBoatface as the name of your high-tech research submarine. But all the same, I feel pretty good about how this is going to play out.
Okay. So I guess with that, we just kind of wanted to go over them just at a very high level and just give our thoughts. I thought I would give my thoughts kind of as somebody who's played, and then you maybe as somebody who's played a little bit, but then like you can provide a fresh perspective on what you think.
Yeah, more on the vibes of it.
Sure. I guess we're not listening to their requests because we haven't play tested this. This is just doing exactly what they said not to do.
But we're not filling out the feedback form. That was, I think, what they were concerned about. So,
good point.
So don't fill out the feedback form just based on listening to us talk about it. Because we didn't try it on the table. But
okay, so the first playtest package was the survivability rules. And they've really only made 2 changes. But these are 2 of the bigger ones, and I did a lot of research before recording today to see what the vibe was online around these. Proposal 1 is a change to how hit locations work for sides of mechs.
Can you give me the lowdown on how that works currently? Because this is one that didn't quite make sense to me, because I wasn't sure how side attacks work.
For sure. So right now, and I kind of misspoke about this when we did our Battletech episode. So you know how I told you, I think a few weeks back, if I'm on your right side, you're right, and I shoot at you, I'm like, I basically roll in a different hit location table. Right now, there's one for front/rear, There's one for left and one for right.
You're just more likely to hit certain locations if you're on one of those sides or the other.
Yeah, and they kind of they move things around. So for me, on the initial, what they're changing here is they're saying they're getting rid of the left and right side.
Okay.
And now if you roll like leg, it's always the left leg if you're on the left side or whatever. Or you roll arm and you're on the right.
So you're only
hit the right
determining whether you hit the front or rear?
Basically.
Okay.
And it's just determined. So you have one chart. So on the surface of this, that simplifies the game. Ideally makes it a little more simple to learn and teach.
Yeah.
Instead of having 3 different hit location charts that literally move things around, so it's not super consistent. Seems like a win initially.
Honestly, the way you just explained it there seems simpler than how it's explained in this PDF, though, because I was trying to figure out, like, wait, so you can't, like, they're trying to make it so you can't hit the left leg if you're shooting from the right side, but it seemed like they almost over-explained in a way that then left it more confusing. But
for sure. So the big, I think they over-explained it, but yeah, maybe they're just trying to cover their legalese.
I'm sure that's what it is. But it's like, for example, if an attack hits the right side, any result that indicates a left side hit location is changed to the equivalent right side location, which then it sounds like, well, if I have to do that mental math anyways, why not just have a separate chart? So is it just as complicated? I don't know, but maybe that's why you should play test it, because then we would know whether that I think in
actual play, when I think about this, it'd be faster, because instead it's just rolling a chart and I go, I'm in your right, and you roll left leg,
it's not left,
and I go, it's right leg.
I see. So it essentially sort of doubles the possibility of a right leg hit, because it's the left leg is also now the same.
Right torso or something. Yeah. So that now the negative feedback I've seen from people who are much more involved in the game, I've watched some videos, was that this now both rewards getting flanks, because now you can really focus where you're hitting. So if you're in somebody's right flank, you can no longer hit their left.
So you used to be able to? It was just like a smaller chance kind of a thing?
Yes and no. I don't have the charts right in front of me, but it moved things around, basically. And you had rules as written in the core rules, assuming we're not using floating criticals, which I think you should use, optional rule, whatever. It changed a bunch of stuff, but now it's impossible to do that.
So it essentially is like, I don't know, I guess I could imagine like your arms are swinging, and so your left arm from the right side becomes visible briefly, and then
So basically, now you can't hit the left side if you're on the right. Now that rewards alpha striking and really in movement, which seems like a good thing, right?
Yeah, it keeps things dynamic, means people aren't just going to bunker down.
For sure, and it adds, I think, an element of strategy. Maybe it buffs speed a little bit, and speed is maybe already too good with jumping and stuff, but whatever. But so that's like a big gameplay thing there. But I don't know. The negatives I've seen from like one guy in particular is like he thought it was dumbing the game down. He thought like we're trying to model this semi-realistically. I think the biggest failure of Battletech is usually in scale, where ranges don't make any sense. But I think that's almost every miniature war game, because it's just...
Unless you're playing in a really small scale where the table's actually big enough to then have the full...
because it's like, what? These long-range missiles can only shoot like 3/4 of a kilometer?
Right.
Like, what? You know? Like, that should shoot like 40 kilometers or something. I don't know. I'm making that up. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the scale is kind of off, but they really do, I think, go into the tank of like, okay, what would be... Yeah, you could hit the right leg from the left side. You kind of went through, you thread the needle. You know, it's possible. Unlikely, now it's just like, oh, it's dumbed down, and now there might be that strategy change where it's like on your approach, you're getting some hits. Maybe you get some really heavy, like a particle projection cannon, which does a big slug of damage, hits on the right side. Now you're like, okay, I'm going to go right because I've already plinked 10 points on that right torso. Now if I engage on his right flank later with my faster things, I can guarantee I'm going to hit on that.
Hits, yeah.
So, but is that a negative? I don't know. To me,
it's different for sure.
This seems like almost a wash.
Yeah, I think, again, from a perspective of having not played a ton, it just does feel like an improvement without fundamentally changing how the game works, especially if those original hit possibilities were pretty low. So like, how often was that happening anyways? I don't know. It
was more than it probably, I think, should have.
Oh, okay. Well, then even better.
But again, that's my opinion. This to me is almost, I think, an improvement just because of the streamlining. And I think they're trying to do that a little bit without losing too much.
Without going full to their Alpha Strike system.
Right. They say that in the beginning. They're like, this is kind of what was once, really edgy and clean is now a living fossil. Yeah. But we don't want to lose that, they say, because now Battletech, that's kind of the appeal. Because nothing else is on the market.
Yeah, that's staying crunchy like this.
That's like this. So they don't want to rub all those, hard edges out. But this is like, I feel like just sanding, just the tippy top. This is, I don't know. To me, does it have probably some big strategic implications that maybe really competitive guys would feel affected by? Probably. To me, who's more focused on narrative / pickup / campaign play, this seems like I like it. So...
Yeah, and especially for getting new people in, just like you said, having one third of the previous charts for this. Yeah.
So seems like a win. The next one is explosion damage cap. So this is, in my opinion, the biggest change in all of the ones thus far. This is huge. So because this just changes probably the balance of so many mechs.
Yeah, and let me try to explain this as the person who doesn't know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the explosion damage is somebody shoots you in your mech where you have ammunition stored, and that ammunition explodes.
Yep.
And so then not only does the attack that you just got shot with damage you, but also your own ammunition exploding against you damages you.
Correct.
So that's what the explosion damage is.
Yes. So basically right now what can happen is you get shot, and let's say on most shots or times you're hit, you rub off armor, and eventually the armor's gone, you start hitting internal structure.
Okay.
Once internal structure starts getting hit, every time internal structure is hit, there's a chance of a critical. And you roll to see if you get a crit. And then when you get a crit, you randomly determine which internal component in that area is crit. And if you hit the ammo box, all the remaining ammo in that box that is there, which sometimes for like famously machine guns has a ton of ammo per ton, which
hundreds of rounds,
really nerfs machine guns, because it's like I'm carrying around little pea shooters that can destroy me, right? So it's like you hit the machine gun and there's 100 rounds of machine gun in there, so that's like 100 damage or something, right? So but it's transferred internally, and then it just goes to your center torso, and you just die instantly, basically. And it would kill, I believe, your pilot as well. So, like, if you cared about that for campaign reasons.
Sure, yeah.
So it's just like survivability for weapon systems that needed ammunition was intrinsically less. And this was just accepted. And I would say, I wouldn't even say, I think it's generally agreed that energy weapons are best from a competitive standpoint because they don't have this flaw. They're oftentimes just really efficient for weight as well, because they don't have to spend weight in ammo.
Oh, that
so
makes
they're
sense,
just like they're winning on every spot a lot of times. The only time energy is usually behind on everything else is heat. But heat, especially once you get double heat sinks in the 3050s, is
not as much an issue.
It's not as much of an issue, and until you start like having tons, and you get these laser boats that have like, extended range PPCs that one shot generates 15, and they'll have a mech with 3. So it's like that's 45 heat if you shoot all of them. Like, yeah, okay, now we're dealing with heat again. So there are some, heat is still a thing, don't get me wrong, is I guess what I want to say, but it's just been this weird energy weapon dominance, and especially in intro tech, which I'm kind of doing some research right now on like setting up a campaign for our group, and I'm just thinking about that, where it's like the medium laser is just this really efficient weapon. It's very short range relatively speaking, but 3 heat does 5 damage, 0 to 9 hex range. Admittedly, it's not going to hit much at 6 to 9, but because that's long range for it. But without getting into all the specifics, this just kind of turns that on its head now, to where mechs that previously were like, oh man, that has an autocannon 5. Like I think of like the Shadowhawk, which has an autocannon, short-range missile launcher, long-range missile launcher. So it had 3 weapons that all use ammunition. So it had 3 separate ammunition bins spread throughout it. And those are all spots where it can just blow up.
Right, if that crit happens there. Yeah.
Right. So I spent a long time on that now, but what this is proposing is now that explosion damage is capped at 20.
How was it determined before? Was it just like 1 damage per piece of ammunition?
Depends
or
on the ammo.
Okay, so it's low for machine gun ammunition, but there's just so much of it that it adds up. Whereas like some big long-range missile has a lot, but there's only a couple in the...
Right, so like an AC-20, don't quote me on how much ammo you get per ton, let's say 5. Mm-hmm. So there's 5 shots in there, but each round is 20 damage, so that's 100 damage if you hit a slot with 5 rounds in it, which again is going to kill every mech in the game if there's not case, which we'll get into.
So it's really most things that had ammo could kill the mech.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And that's just been accepted for like the last, I guess, 40 years. So why it's been accepted is because of things like, again, case, which protected the mech, was a new technology that got introduced. But now just raw in intro tech without all the fancy stuff, it's capped at 20. So that just on its own means things like machine guns are going to get tremendously better because of that. This is also much better on big mechs too, where they have a lot of internal structure, because on a light, 20 damage is still probably going to instantly kill it.
Right.
But I'm okay with that.
Right, it's not as big of a loss to lose that than the big
generally
mech,
speaking, and I kind of like that lights have that Achilles heel at least a little bit, because their whole defense isn't armor anyway. It's just you can't hit them,
right?
Which is its own frustration, right? But like the big heavy, you get this super mech, you bring up an Atlas, and then they get a through armor crit. And then if you're like me, you use floating crits, and then they hit your AC-20 ammo theoretically on turn 1, and they just blow up your Atlas. Like, it's just like, oh, my like 100-ton like Goliath is just gone. And for some people, I think that's a really cool thing, because it's like anything can happen, right? It's just like you could just shoot at that guy over there, and if he's got ammo, you could just blow him up.
Yeah.
Now,
small
especially
chance,
small chance, but it could. Whereas now it's like, this is going to be much more limited. There's so many knock-on effects with things like extra light engines and stuff like that. But summary here is survivability for especially heavier mechs, and a lot of other mechs have just gone up huge.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. So
yeah, it's
awesome.
Interesting also that it's capped, so it's not just that like it's always going to be 20, because if it would be less than that, it says it still will be less, but if it would be 400, it's still only 20.
Exactly.
So does that mean that all the calculations have stayed the same for
I believe
how
so.
you would determine how much that is?
Yep.
Okay.
Except for certain things. But I want to touch on case here. So case is a tech that comes out later that you install in the mech in the different slots. And what that did, or does currently, I guess I should say, is it explodes with full damage, but it vents the excess out. So you basically, let's say you had ammo in your left torso, and you get crit there, it would just blow up the left torso. The arm would fall off to the left arm, but then all the rest of the damage
goes
would
out
vent
instead of further in.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So you wouldn't die instantly or get cored. And then case 2 was like a improved version of that slightly. Now, if you have case, the cap goes to 10, and if you have case 2, the cap is 1. Now, case 2 is much later in the timeline technology, but like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, like later in the timeline, now you can really go ammo all out if you want, like 1 damage.
Yeah.
Like, I almost don't even care. Like, what? 10 is still a lot, don't get me wrong, but like, I love these changes. Now, like mechs with case, I mean, on a bigger mech, 10 isn't even going to destroy the left torso a lot of the time, or right torso, or an arm, or whatever. They're going to survive these hits now. Now it's just like an additional boom, big hit, like just an extra 10. That already doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But now it's not like the whole mech is gone.
Yeah. So it still feels dire, like something meaningful happened, but it's not necessarily game ending.
Exactly. I love this. It's was it at the bottom? They also changed one thing about how, like, and I don't remember if it was this, I think that's in gear. Yeah, it is. I'll come back to that later. But that's the 2 ones in survivability. And I think the explosion damage cap, to me, I love this. It gets rid of a lot of the math. Most of the time you wouldn't even check, because you'd be like, oh, I just die. You know, you wouldn't even be like, I got 16 missiles in there, and then okay, I'm dead. Now it's just like, well, it's going to be 20. Do I live? And then you can actually, I don't know. I much prefer this. I think this is a strict upgrade. I don't know if I've heard anybody say anything negative about this. unless you're like worried about competitive balance. But again, this is still a bad thing. It's just not as bad.
Right.
And we're taking weapon systems that are generally considered worse
Mm-hmm.
for competitive and just making them better. So this seems like, and again, we're not really changing any of the weapon stats. We're just changing the core rules here. So none of the record sheets are changed. None of the mechs themselves are really changing at all. It's actually so interesting how they've kind of like slithered in and just like adjusted these core
like
tenets.
Surgical adjustments.
Right. But then it has these ripple effects.
Yeah.
There's probably mechs that were like absolutely god awful before that are probably now pretty playable, I would think.
Yeah.
So love it. Any thoughts on that from you, I guess, to finish before we move to the second one?
Yeah, I think the only thing I could understand from a narrative perspective of being bothered by this is that, like, well, what's capping it? Like, that just doesn't make any sense narratively. Like, it should be possible. If all of that ammo blew up, why doesn't it just kill the mech? And I could see somebody who cares about that, quote, realism, obviously in a sci-fi setting. The plausibility maybe is a better term than realism, but the plausibility of the cap maybe could rub people the wrong way. I could definitely see that. But I mean, you could probably explain it away that, like, okay, if something's exploding, some of it is going to go into the mech, but some of it is going to, because of just the nature of explosions, go out, the same direction that the shot came in, kind of a thing. But yeah, I think it's, from a gameplay perspective, seems fine. And like you said, has a lot of the still impact that makes it a bad thing happening. It's not like it just makes everything like it almost meaningless. It still matters that you took an extra 20 points of damage.
Yeah. I mean, again, that kills most small mechs still.
Yeah. So still meaningful, but it just doesn't necessarily feel as crazy. Like 400 damage from the machine gun ammo?
Yeah,
oh my
whatever.
gosh.
Yeah, it's just like, well, they're dead. Okay, and that was Playtest Package 1. Really, just those two things. Now, I'd say those are two of the bigger ones, so I like that they packaged those together. And just like, what do you think of just that?
Yeah, and it makes sense because, I mean, I like how they've split these up because it's like survivability, mobility. Right. These are shared. They're very similar things that are affecting similar parts of the game.
For sure. Playtest Package 2 was on mobility. This one, there's a lot of nitty-gritty stuff in here that I'm not going to read over. If you guys are interested, go to battletech.com/playtest-battletech, and you can read through it yourself, but I'm going to give you the vibe here. So essentially, I'll go high level over all the changes. There's quite a few. Number one, they made water more easy to go into. Right now, water, if you like go into it, you have to check to make sure you don't fall over, things like that. Now, if you walk in, it looks like you don't have to do that.
It just slows you down.
It slows you down pretty drastically. Now, is it still good to be in the water most of the time? Probably not. Right now, I think the problem is people just don't go in the water.
Right.
It's like
it just became impassable. Sort of like the problem in Fantasy 6th edition, where it's like, well, if you can't march and you're slowed by half, no one's just going to go in the difficult
It's just
terrain.
It might as well be impassable. So I think it's got that problem right now.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate because it makes cool maps with lots of water hard to play. And unfun, maybe, otherwise. And I think making this a little bit easier to move around, it's still pretty rough. If you're in a depth 1 water hex, and let's say you want to get out, you already probably have to go up 1 level. You're moving 1, so that's 2. And then because you're in the water, that's another 1. So it costs you 3 movement points to just get out of the water already. So that's like, and that's still the case now, as far as I can tell. So it's still pretty punishing, but now at least
you're not going to tip over and drown.
Yeah, now you at least don't fall. And what's crazy is you say that, and then you could have internal structure damage, and then you flood like the internal parts of your or it's terrible what can happen. So that's pretty rare, but I don't know. Seems like a pretty darn objectively, in my mind, better system. Let's make mechs better at walking around and moving.
Agreed. It just a game, especially one based around positioning and with such a small model count, I feel like dialing up mobility and keeping the game more dynamic just makes it more fun.
I agree. Second one was backwards level changes are now allowed. So right now, if you're walking and you walk backwards, you can't like walk up a hill. Now, I saw one guy make a case for this. He's like, it's very realistic. Try walking backwards up the stairs. And I'm like, okay, that sounds a little hard, right? Let alone, and I'm not a giant robot being handled by like joysticks and pedals, right? So I hear you. But again, this is one of those things where let's allow a little bit more movement. Now, if you're like a fire support mech, you're usually way further in the back or whatever. Maybe you're doing indirect fire. Somebody runs at you. Now you can just kind of back up a little more easily, go up onto a hill or down or whatever. Whereas before you either had to jump jet if you have those, or you're going to have to like pivot
time turning
all the way around
yeah.
and then you're running. So it's like, this is a big buff to like kind of standoffy stuff. And I just like being able to move a little more easily again. And it makes sense. It's not letting you run backwards. So it's just walking. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it seems still contained or restrained and not going to make things too maneuverable, but still making things move around a little more.
For sure. Then they changed the definition of immobile. This happens so rarely for me, unless people get shut down or whatever. But basically, I'm not even sure the full implications of this, to be frank with you listeners. But it looks like maybe it's harder to be classified as a mobile. If you're a mobile right now, it's really bad. It's like you're -4 to hit, which is, again, minus is bad. That means the target number you have to hit is lower because you're always trying to meet or exceed on your 2d6 roll to hit. So like right now, if you're shut down, your mech's just, sat there. Everybody can just be like, dial in, and then they just nuke him.
Right.
So it seems like, I guess that's slightly changed, and it's on what counts as a mobile, what doesn't. I don't really have strong thoughts on this. So, I don't know. Fine.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because they're differentiating between a mech that's been reduced to 0 move points due to damage, or ones that have been shut down.
Sure.
Or are like you have an unconscious
Pilot.
Yeah. Versus a mech that just decided to stand still because they could still potentially like dodge an incoming missile by like leaning or something, kind of a thing.
Sure.
Which is different than something that physically cannot move. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. Number 4, the pilot. This one I like. The piloting skill roll modifier for a damaged gyro is reduced from +3 to +2. So this is a buff because again, you want lower numbers on the pluses usually. So what a gyro is in the mech is that's the thing that balances it. The standard gyro, I believe, can take 2 hits, and if it's destroyed, like you crit it twice, the mech's basically dead. It just
gonna fall over.
It falls over. But if you take 1 hit, you have to check to see if you don't fall over. Whereas before it was a +3, and on an average pilot who is piloting skill 5, that means you need an 8 or higher to not fall. Now it's a 7, provided there's no other modifiers here. So it's much less likely. Going from an 8 to a 7, pretty major, I think, statistically.
Yeah.
It's much less likely you're going to fall over. And I think I'm going to start lumping these all together. This is a trend that they're kind of doing here. Foot actuators and hip actuators.
It's like types of damage that would make you take a piloting skill.
Yeah, and basically right now, they're making it more consistent on like how it reduces movement points too. So right now, if your foot gets crit, you lose a movement point, and then you recalculate your run speed based on that, because your run speed is always your walking speed times 1.5.
Okay.
And then rounding or whatever. So that's how. So if you lose a movement point, you just retract your walk and then recalculate your run.
Makes sense.
Effectively. And hips now just down. If you get crit in the hip, that's pretty bad. You just lose your movement point by half.
Oh wow.
So that's much more extreme. And then you keep going down the line, and this changes depending on if it's a 4-legged mech. I'm not going to get into all that here. And then finally, the big thing here is cumulative leg PSR effects. Again, piloting skill rolls. Now you don't take like multiple rolls for multiple critical hits to try and stand up.
Oh,
now
it's
you
like
take
one, but with more modifiers.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and I think if you math that out, even if the modifiers are now cumulative, it's way less likely that you fall over now. Because if you had like
passing multiple difficult rolls, the probability gets very small quickly. Yeah.
So it just, again, I think they're making it harder to fall over. Leg destruction, they changed this a bit. You still fall over automatically, and you can't make kick attacks, etc. Whatever. But again, and then finally, I'm not going to go into the quad guys, standing PSRs. So if you fall over, you think, what am I going to do? I need to stand back up. Right now, it is, if you like take a gyro hit or whatever, which is again, another way a lot of people fall over, it is very hard to get back up again. Now they give you a flat -1 just for trying to get up. So it's a little bit easier always. I like it. I don't know.
It just means things are going to maybe get back into the fight a little bit.
Yeah. Right now what can happen is you get up, you fail, and you do this kind of weird flailing thing, and you fall down kind of again, and you keep taking damage.
Wow.
So it's
You're just killing yourself then.
Yeah. So it gets into this weird, I don't know. I prefer this. This, to me, these are all great changes. They're all very nitty gritty, honestly.
But it makes some of the elements of the game a little less punishing and more likely that stuff's going to be able to keep operating on the battlefield.
Sure. I've seen the negative being here that like, oh, it's going to be more fun because your mechs won't fall over as much, but it's going to be less fun because you won't be able to make their mechs fall over as much. And I'm like, I don't know. That's a wash to me.
Yeah.
And for me, making them fall over is fun, but if it happens so often that it's a regular occurrence,
that's
it's
the
almost
thing.
like
You want it to be like a big moment of the game where it's you know, it's likely to happen at least once or twice, but it's not going to be happening all the time, and you're not going to end a game with all the mechs on the ground.
Yeah. So not that was necessarily happening, but now it's even less likely.
Yeah.
So I like that, and honestly, this is all like quality of life things, I think. Water's more usable. You don't fall over all the time. You can walk backwards up hills. Love it. Any final thoughts from you on all those?
No, I mean, the big thing is just it makes the game more dynamic, and I think that's good for especially this type of game. So,
and again, changing no like actual stat anything.
Right.
They're just tweaking like
how you
the
use
wording.
Those stats.
Yeah. I amazing. And then finally, this was the one that when I saw that they did this, I like held my breath the most. So number 3 is the gear one. So this is like weapons and stuff, right? And like specific rules for all the different technologies. And I was like, oh God, are they going to like change stats?
Yeah. And this is the one that made the least sense to me just because it's kind of some of the more specific elements.
This is where when I was telling you in the Battletech episode where it can quickly be like, what the heck's going on? It's because there's so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'll try to go over it quick and dirty. Some of these changes, though, I love it. Okay, so first off, explosive component damage standardization. So remember when we talked about ammo explosions? So certain guns or whatever weapons also explode when they're crit.
Okay.
The big one, the obvious one, is the Gauss rifle because it's held together by all these like special magnets or whatever. So if it gets like disrupted, it like blows up.
Makes sense.
Right now, that just does like 20 damage. And what they're saying now, this is kind of a side grade to me, but it's a buff, I guess, less damage, is now you take how many crit slots it takes, multiply it by 2. So a Gauss rifle has 6 slots on the sheet, so it does 12 damage.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice because then it's a pretty easy to remember way to differentiate how bad that's going to be.
And it's cool because you can look at that. You can consult the sheet in front of you that you're staring at all game anyway, rather than having to right now like be like, what is the damage for a Gauss rifle crit? I got to go look in the rule book.
Right.
Right? Because that's how it works now. And that might be different for a heavy Gauss or a hyper assault Gauss.
Now it's just on your mech sheet. Easy to see.
Yeah, so I love that. And it's also cool because then it just makes Clan Tech better too because it takes up less slots. So now Clan Tech's better in another way, but that's fun. I don't mind that. Number 2, anti-missile systems. So what this is representing is like little minigun things on the mechs that like pick up like automatically like missiles incoming and shoot them out of the sky. So what this would do, or what it does now, is it reduces your like cluster hit roll by 4, but it originally would not reduce it to 0, so you could never get rid of all the missiles. Now it can, and then also it can shoot at 2 flights of missiles. So this is a humongous buff.
Yeah, that's crazy. It got more than twice as good.
So yeah, it is right, because as it exists now, it's fine. It's like if it's there, it's like cute, whatever.
Does this make missiles way worse then though?
Against this, yes, but you don't see. I mean, if somebody's packing lots of anti-missile systems, they're gonna like crush you now. But this is also good because it took ammo, so now it can spend ammo twice as fast as before. So if you get ammo crit with your ammo, so this is like this is a way better like support system than it was. So yeah, if you're like playing really gamey or whatever, if you think you're in a meta with heavy missile use,
now you can take this.
You be like anti-missile systems. And before it would just be overwhelmed. so easily because it was only shooting at one flight. So if somebody had, I don't know, 2 missile boats and they're shooting like, I don't know, 5 or 6 rounds of like LRMs at your guy, he could like knock out some of them out of one.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, I'm knocking out some out of multiple. And if they roll low, I completely remove the cluster hit roll entirely. So this is, I love this change. It's a little tiny thing, again, little tiny wording changes, but immediately makes this way more interesting and powerful. So I'm a big fan. Armor. I'm not going to get into all the special types of armor, but basically they just kind of negated. It makes like armor piercing a lot better. Basically, it looks like there's a lot of like special ammo types that were like negated and things by this, and they're like less so now. Cool. They just like deleted a lot of sentences around things. I don't have a lot of experience with a lot of the special armor types because they're usually much later in the timeline.
Okay.
But cool. I don't know. I don't have a lot of thoughts. The next one though, this is the big one. Autocannons. So autocannons, especially this hits me where I live because autocannons have been around since the beginning. They are generally the worst gun. Just if you like look at it objectively, especially the smaller ones at base level tech. So autocannon 2s and autocannon 5s really struggle until you really start using special ammunition, but they have their own problems. But this packet like buffs everything. So the problem with autocannons is that they weigh a ton.
Okay.
And they don't do, again, for the smaller ones, a ton of damage for how much they weigh. And they have good range, I guess, but it's not like... It's
outclassing things that it makes up for.
Yeah, and the benefit of all this, and you have to have ammo, which we've already explained why that's a problem.
Less now, though.
Is that it's light on weight. So it's like, okay, heat, I mean, not weight. Okay. It's high on weight. So it basically is the inverse of energy weapons, where they're typically lighter on weight, high on heat. Autocannons are like barely any heat until you get to the really big ones, etc. And they also kind of inverse range, whereas lasers, the more large the laser is, the range is usually better. Autocannons, the bigger the cannon, the lower the range.
Okay.
So the smaller autocannons are like sniper blippers, like boop, 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 boop. Whereas the big ones are like giant shotgun close combat things. Whereas lasers, the bigger ones, are just generally always better. But again, I haven't even told you what the change is. So basically now when an autocannon is crit, what would happen is it stops working. What this proposal is it can get crit twice before the gun breaks.
Okay.
So honestly, not a huge deal, but it just makes these more robust weapons. And that's kind of their lore too, is these are the heavy duty, like grungy guns. You know, they're just throwing lead, right? Like they're just shooting giant.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice one to change. It reinforces the lore as written.
Sure. But that's like the first thing. But then additionally, so autocannons don't break as much. They changed how ultra autocannons, which are upgunned ones that shoot twice as much, or rotary, which are like minigun autocannons. Those ones are awesome. Ultra autocannons could jam right now. And if they jam, it just sucks. They like can't shoot anymore. And there's no way, I don't believe in current rules, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, to unjam them.
Wow. Yeah, that's rough.
So it's like, do you even take the advantage? So like every time you're using the advantage of shooting twice as often as normal ones, you have a chance. It's
you'll
low.
Just never shoot again.
Yeah. Whereas rotary autocannons could jam, but they had to like spend a whole turn of like not doing anything to unjam it, basically.
And now it sounds like, you still can't shoot it for one turn, but you can shoot everything else.
You could shoot everything else. So rotary autocannons are now like way less punishing and can be a genuine like main weapon, like and be threatening, because each individual shot is usually not doing as much, but it's doing up to 6 shots. Nice. Whereas one autocannon would just be doing 1. So it's big fan of all these changes. Maybe the ultra autocannon one is even too good. I don't know, because that's now it has no negative, right? Like it's just ultra autocannons are like just strictly better. So.
But if no one was taking them because they were so bad, maybe that's fine.
I don't know if they were so bad. I think people were taking them. It's just, I don't know. I'm not sure what to do, but I love the rotary autocannon change. Or just let them, or do the ultra autocannon thing, like the rotary. Let them unjam. You know, like, oh, it can't shoot this turn while we clear it. That seems fine. I don't know. But big buffs for a class of weapon that has traditionally been not good.
Yeah.
Is, I guess, what I want to reiterate. So that's huge. Again, we're changing the balance, but we didn't change the range. We didn't change the damage. We didn't change the construction rules. We didn't change any of the things that actually affect like the numbers somehow. And all we did was like, you can jam now, and now they don't die as easily when they're crit. And it's like, wow, okay, cool. I'm in love, you know, and that's a big deal for some of these big autocannons, because they take up like an AC-20 is like a ton of crit slots. So if you get crit, it's like you're going to lose your AC-20 in that spot, because it's like half the slots. Now it's like you get hit there, it's like, well, I can take 2. So you're way less likely to lose your huge gun to a random crit. So I don't know, love it.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't want to get into C3 and C3I computers. So these are like the special rule where you put these like computer systems on all these guys, all your different mechs, and they like share targeting data.
Oh, I see.
I'm not going to get into the specifics of this because frankly it's kind of complicated to me, but you can get like really good modifiers, I guess, make it really easy to hit things if stuff's going well. I believe the key change is that ECM, which is your like electronic warfare, is less effective about it. Okay. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it. I've never used C3 computers or C3I computers or whatever, but they look really powerful. I think this looks like a generally, from what I've read and heard from others, this seems like a positive change. I'm okay with all this stuff. I don't have a lot of thoughts, though. They even mentioned, which is interesting, is the battle value in here. I don't think it's really mentioned
for any of these other changes.
And any of the other ones, because I think this was part of the problem with it, was really expensive, but it wasn't in actuality like worth it.
I see. So now it's cheaper and ECM isn't as powerful against it.
Correct. So I think
it's maybe going to be usable.
Right. So, and again, I think from a lore perspective, again, you just ignore all that. It's fine. But I think it's good that these types of weird like build around me type gear, because this is like if you're taking C3, you're putting it on multiple units.
Right, because otherwise it doesn't do anything.
Exactly. So it's like this is like a whole like method of list building or whatever, if you want to call it that, where it's like our whole strategy revolves around this. So I think that's cool. You don't see that very often now, I guess. ECM, this is a big one. Never. I'm going to read it word for word here. It never nullifies a component unless the firing unit, target unit, or opposing component in specified cases like narc pods or a unit with Artemis is directly in the ECM's radius, unless specified otherwise. So the last sentence is the key change here. Merely drawing line of sight through an ECM radius has no effect. So now, ECM, it's a bubble, and anytime anything goes through the bubble,
it's disrupted. Correct.
Now he has to be like consciously affecting the thing. So whereas
like you got to be near the mech that's shooting or near the mech that's being shot.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Depending on what's occurring or whatever. But now, before, you would just kind of run interference with these like light mechs, is usually where it was best, or mediums. And they just kind of sit there but now, I don't know, this is kind of a nerf to ECM, but I think the big win here is this is going to be way easier to use on the tabletop. Because right now, if you shoot, you have to like count the hexes through and be like, oh, am I in ECM range? You know what I mean? Like, and then, oh, there's that guy. I have to count like 5 hexes out for his ECM bubble. Did my missiles pass through the bubble?
Right.
You know, and there's no like templates for this. So you're just, everybody's leaning hexes, over and counting hexes. Whereas now it's just like, are you in the thing? Is that mech in the thing? Is your mech in the thing? It's very objective. It's no like, well, I think they would have taken this path.
True, yeah, because on hexes it can sometimes be a little, like, which hex is it going
exactly.
to?
So I think this is, to me, an improvement. Number 7, this is such a cute little change. The heavy duty gyro. This is a gyro that's heavy duty. And I think I told you gyros are like the thing that keep you upright. Yep. This is a piece of tech that's like a bulky one or whatever. And if this gets hit, the big change is you don't even take a piloting skill roll when it gets crit. So if this thing can get hit multiple times and you don't even have a chance of falling over.
Nice.
Which is cool. Also, the modifier for losing your gyro is not nearly as bad. Okay. Even after they changed it from 3 to 2, now it's just a +1. So this makes your, if you have a mech with a heavy duty gyro, way less likely to fall over. And I think that's cool. I don't know.
Now it's an option.
Yeah, and it takes 4 hits. I think that's how it is now before it's destroyed, which is double. So it's kind of cute that this like very random, I mean, it's not random, but it's not like tech that people get excited about.
Sure, yeah.
It's like, oh, I got a really heavy duty gyro in this mech. I'm like, oh man, we're fricked, but whatever.
So now if you really don't want to tip over, there's ways to do that with these new changes.
Yep. Missiles. Okay, some of these were the changes that I think some of these were weird. Advanced tactical missiles. So these are a type of weapon that are later on the timelines where you can shoot like long or short range stuff, and they incorporate some bonuses. They have something called Artemis 4. It increases their accuracy when using direct fire. They just changed their cluster size. I don't really know why. 5 to 6. I think the only reason I can think of is I think they go in sizes of 3, 6, 9, 12.
Oh, so it's just more standardizing
it's just a multiple of that. Yeah, I'm not bothered. It's fine. It's just a change. So I saw some people raise their hands at this, saying this is going to be hard to remember because we've been doing it this way for 20 years. To which I thought, that's kind of a fair argument because this isn't like a huge balance change. Maybe this will help new players though, where it's like, why is it in damage groupings of 5 when my missile shoots 6 missiles or whatever? It's like, why? And I'm like,
I mean, it makes sense.
I kind of get it. Extended range LRMs. I've never used these. These weapons are like meme weapons. They shoot like crazy far. Delete the Battle Mech Manual game rules entry entirely. Additionally, the weapon can now use Artemis 4. So I've not actually read the Battle Mech Manual game rules for this, and it can use Artemis 4. That's a buff, so it can be more accurate, I guess. These are weapons that are just super long range, but they have a huge minimum range. So this would be like, I don't know, you'd have to be playing on like 3 map sheets because they could shoot like 40 hexes or something.
Wow.
They're kind of cool, I guess. I don't know, but if anything gets like within like 15 of you, now you're within min range and you're getting all these negatives to hit anything. So I don't know, cool. Medium range missiles. These are fun. These are the dumbfire missiles, so they don't home.
Okay.
So they eliminate. So right now how they work is they have a +1 penalty to hit. So they're just inherently inaccurate.
Makes sense.
But it applies a -1 to the cluster hit table penalty. So what they've basically done is they've said, we're going to make it easier to hit the guy, but when you do, you hit with fewer on your cluster roll. I think this is a buff because now you're actually going to hit with the weapon.
Right, because if you miss completely, then it doesn't matter what your cluster roll is. Yeah.
So they've made it like, okay, now these weapons could actually hit stuff and not suck. But at least now they get a little bit of a negative modifier because they're dumbfire weapons. These are just like, you just unleash a salvo of like a ton of them or whatever. I think it's cool. They do note that there's an Apollo fire control system that would have to change this. Not super aware of how the Apollo fire control system works, but
it's interesting that they're saying we'll wait to see if people actually want this or
I think
if it's
this
going to
is
work.
An awesome change. I don't have strong opinions on the balance of medium range missiles, but seems like a buff, and I like missiles, so cool. Einarch missile beacons. These are cool. So they're like a little like missile thing that you shoot at a mech or something and it sticks in them.
Nice.
And then other missiles that target them home to it better, and they get bonuses to the cluster hit. So this is cool. But I think the main change is if a missile beacon attack the target and it's only destroyed, it's like harder to break it or something. Because right now you can do this weird thing where you have to like rub it off with a hand.
Okay.
But if you like fail, you can like punch your own mech.
Wow,
it's kind of wonky. I don't know. I don't use Narc a lot, but I think it's one of those pieces of equipment that gets me excited. I really like missiles, and I like this whole like there's stuff like target acquisition gear, which is like the laser.
Oh, right.
The laser designation. There's the Narc beacon. Artemis and all this.
It's fun to have that stuff that like works together, and then you kind of have more of this combined interactions with your mechs.
Feels less like we're just taking all these independent things that happen to maybe have some synergy and being like we're being very intentional about what units bring, and I don't know, I think that's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I think they change how it works with ECM and spotters and stuff. Don't have a lot of thoughts on that. Physical weapons, there's a lot of changes here. I barely use like actual physical weapon stuff, I've used a hatchet a few times, which is I think one of the good ones because it's got a -1 to hit, which is good.
Right.
Right now, most of the time people do physical combat, they're just kicking. Because kicking is a -2 inherently.
Oh, wow.
The negative of kicking is that you can only hit other legs. And if you fail to kick, you have to make sure you don't fall over.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Because if you like, and then you fall backwards or whatever.
Right.
But people just kick. So you'll definitely see a big common strategy is light mechs, they'll jump jet behind your guy.
And kick you in the back of the knee.
Shoot you a bunch of stuff in your rear armor, and then just kick you. And it's like, and you can't do anything back. And you're just like, oh. And then if they win initiative again, round and around we go.
Yep.
Right? That's like a big thing. But they changed the balance on a lot of these. I just don't have a lot of strong thoughts. I think the lance was pretty cool because you can do this weird thing now where the lance can do through armor crits.
Oh, that's fun.
So it like actually pierces. So that's kind of cute. And you can use it on the charge. So you can be a mech with a lance and you can charge another mech and like you're a knight or something. I don't know. Kind of hokey, but I think it's cute that it's there. There's very few mechs, I think, that have lances.
Okay.
But, so this comes up once in a blue moon, I'm sure. But yeah, whatever. Shields, I think those got generally better. But woohoo, I don't have a lot of strong thoughts. Here we go, number 11. And this is probably big one. Special munitions. Okay, remember all that stuff about autocannons?
Yep.
And that this is like almost a bigger buff than those other ones. So, autocannon armor piercing ammunition. So special munitions, how it works now is so it depends on the ammo, but if you have a standard ammo bay, and I don't know how much is in it, let's pretend it has 20 shots in an autocannon 5 slot. I don't think that's true, but let's say it for the sake of argument. If you make it armor piercing, that ammo slot is modified by a modifier. In current, I believe it's 0.5. So you'd have 20 shots go to 10.
Okay.
Now they've made it go to times 0.6. So that would go to 12. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but a lot of Battletech games go about 12 rounds.
Okay.
Or so. So now you can you start to piece together that you can use these special munitions much more frivolously, I guess.
See, yeah.
And the benefits of these special munitions is quite huge. Armor piercing can do through armor crits. Again, kind of like the lance, but at range.
And now you just have more of it to last the whole battle.
Exactly. So this is, again, things that autocannons could take that nobody else could, but they often weren't, especially on the bigger ones where it was really good because they get less ammo per ton, and then you reduce it again. And it's like, I think the autocannon 20, I think could previously, if you took armor piercing, only got 2 shots per ton.
Okay.
Now I think you'll get 3.
Yeah.
Which isn't but that's 50% more. So, and then on the smaller ones, that's going to be, multiplicatively more effective. So, huge thing. Oh, and the +1 targeting. Oh, the +1 target number penalty for using AP ammunition is removed. So they also just made it more accurate. It's just so much better. Autocannons got like hugely buffed. Like an AC5 now, which was again kind of a pea shooter meme weapon, even in intro tech, which is unfortunate because again it's got okay range and you use it, you're like, it's okay, but then once you get more used to the game, you're like, yeah, this is. I just feel like I have so little firepower compared to these missile guys.
Right.
And then you look at it and it's like, well, they can have like 4 medium lasers or 5 or whatever for your 1 AC5. And they all do the same damage, but they have 5 of them. Now you have double the range, but they have 5 of them. And it causes more heat, et cetera, et cetera. But usually it never won out in those fights. But now it's like, now I can start taking my AC5, throw some armor-piercing ammo. Now I can really start to abuse that range, and I can just get a pea shooter gun, 1 hit, and I roll high on my crit roll. I might just hit your gyro, knock your guy over with all the lasers, and it's like, ooh, or I hit your engine.
That's exciting, yeah.
I don't know. I'm big on all the buffs to autocannons. Big fan. Precision ammo, also great. Went from 0.5 to 0.6,
yeah.
Just more of it. What's cool about precision ammo is it reduces the target movement modifier by 2. So it doesn't necessarily make you more accurate against slow targets, but against fast targets, lights, just nuke these bros, man. Oh, big fan.
Before they can jump behind you and kick you in the back.
Exactly. So autocannons came away just so big here, and then they change acid missiles. I am not very familiar with them. I don't know what their ammo multiplier was before, but I believe the difference with acid missiles is they do like more damage to armor, but they couldn't crit or something. I'm not
okay. So they're like melting through the armor so that you can then crit them later.
And it looks like they had a pretty hefty -2 cluster hits modifier, so they just didn't hit a lot. But now it's -1, so not as bad. So I don't know. Cool. I don't use.
Aren't negative
missiles.
modifiers good? Or that's like the number of hits.
That's a cluster. You're normally right. So this is the one time where you'd rather have a plus. So yeah.
But it's number of hits is what that means?
Yeah, cluster hits is, there's a table. That's a 2d6 table. And you basically would say, an LRM-20 shoots 20 missiles. So you go to the 20 column. And then you roll 2d6 and you go to 7. If before that 7 would turn into a 5. And
I
then
see. So you're in a different, okay, yeah.
And now it would be a 6, which might mean now I hit with 9 missiles instead of 7.
Nice.
Or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then there's some tables there. But big takeaway here is autocannons got better. Like so much better. Again, kind of an often derided weapon.
Yeah, which is nice to see. And again, it sounds like they're trying to bring it just more into alignment with it being ruggedly reliable kind of a thing.
And they did it without like changing stats. I guess you could argue the ammo multipliers are stats, but those aren't printed on the sheets. That's only in the rule books. So we're like changing texts like on very specific pages of things. So I mean, they gotta break some eggs to make an omelet or whatever is going to be the weird metaphor I'll use. And I feel like they're doing this as surgically as
really
they possibly can. And for almost all of these, I'm a huge fan. I love all the autocannon changes, like the ECM change for just a gameplay perspective, because I think the whole tracking missiles going through the bubble thing, sometimes it was really obvious, but other times it'd be like, yeah, rides the line, is that in? And all that, where it's like, oh, are we having an argument over this? You know what I mean? It's just like, this is stupid. Just love almost everything. Anti-missile systems are like actually good now and kind of like really punish missiles. And hey, they're anti-missile systems. They probably should, right?
Makes sense. What they're for.
Big fan. And we're not going to get into the 5th playtest package, which is aerospace. I might have said this earlier, but I just don't have a lot of experience with it. But there's a 4th one unreleased called the mission package. I don't know if they've discussed when that's going to come out.
It's going to start November 24th.
Oh, is that when it comes out? I'm really curious to see what's in that. I have no idea what to expect. I think those first 3 were the ones that like my eyes went to. And for me, looking at it as a more casual player, almost everything I think is an improvement. I'm like gassed up. Actually, I almost wish they would do a little bit more sometimes, because I'm like, wow, these are all so good changes. Let's like tweak a few more little things, and they're doing it so well. I just love it all. I don't know. People who are like, oh, I can't fall over, or he doesn't fall over, but he's getting up, and no consequences. And I'm like, the fall is a consequence in and of itself, and you having to stand up is a consequence. Like, I'm glad we're getting rid of the fall flailing sort of situation where people just can't stand.
Right, because that's not fun. It's just like rolling and nothing happens.
It's just frustrating.
And nothing happens, and
so, and I guess that could be comedic to some people. We get into like almost a semantical argument of what is fun.
Yeah, what do you want out of this game?
And it's just very unproductive. But for me, I think this will make teaching the game easier, generally speaking. I mean, it's still a Goliath and a Colossus and a Fossil, as they acknowledge, but a little bit easier. They've trimmed and tweaked, and
it will be interesting to see what of these make it through, or if after the play testing and feedback phase, they make additional tweaks to these things. And
I wonder if they'll undo the ammo changes to the autocannons.
Oh, really?
I don't know. That's the only thing where I'm like, ooh, wow, that's like big. Like big. Because before, people just wouldn't take it because you wouldn't have enough shots. And then you'd have to spend more weight on ammo.
So that feels like a thing that then is a great change, because if you're just never taking it, it seems like making it so that it's takeable isn't going to break the game.
Indeed, but it's just so funny how like a decimal change of like 0.5 to 0.6 is like, has me going like, oh,
that is wild.
Wow, that's like so much better. I don't know. But okay. Any final thoughts from you, Cam?
No, I kind of said my overall thoughts at the beginning about just, again, really impressed with the process, and I'm just excited to see how it ends up, or what, you know, the next phase is.
Well, I'll just mirror that. I'm really impressed with what Catalyst put together. And I'm excited to see that 4th mission pack, and then what this actually all turns into. Will there be a second round? Who knows? I don't know. I'd be very curious to see what they end up doing. And frankly, at this point, this is just the fact that they're doing this has me excited for a rule book, like a new one. I don't get excited for new rule books a lot. Well, that's a lie. But like new major games, you know what I mean? Like I've just seen the like rumor mill swirl for like Warhammer 40,000 11th because I'm in this space, and of course I do. And I kind of roll my eyes because I'm like, oh, in my head, I feel like 10th just came out.
Right. And it seems like they reinvent a lot every time they do an edition change.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how many, I wonder, and I'm getting off topic here, but I'm going to stand on my soapbox just a brief moment. How many, the average person, how many games do you think of Warhammer 40,000 they play in those 3 years? You know what I mean? Like, is it like 20 games? I don't know. Is that too high? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Did you get your money's worth? Like, did you? And I just like, I don't know. Because I think even us, we have a pretty frequent-ish group.
Yeah.
How often are we playing a year? Maybe once a month, twice a month if we're really on fire, right?
Yeah, I'd say on average. That's our best case scenario.
And I'm just like, I don't know if 3 years is enough for me. Now, there are people that play like every day somehow, I guess. But I don't know. They seem to be the exception, and I wonder if we're catering to them too much. But again, on my soapbox, please strike me down in the comments. I have no further thoughts. I love Battletech. This has been Grant.
Yeah, and Cam. But let us know in the comments what you think about these changes. Especially if you've actually play tested some of these changes, we would love to hear your actual impressions from playing it, since we haven't had the chance to do that yet. But Grant's cooking up a Battletech campaign for our group, so once we wrap up the Aurelian Gate 40K campaign, we'll see if that's what we roll into next. But
I'm feeling the hype for it, so I hope so. I'm going to push.
Yeah, you've got some battle mechs out on the table right now, actually.
Yeah, I've been theory crafting 2 different forces, so we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, it'll be great. But thanks for tuning in, and this has been Refused Flank.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.